Hey, friends. Welcome to the Self-Love Strong podcast. And today we have a compelling, we welcome Wade Randolph, renowned motivational speaker, leadership, and CEO of Randolph Unlimited. Powerfully known as the More Guide, Wade's transformative journey from personal burnout to professional triumph embodies resilience and the power of possibility thinking. Mentored by the legendary Les Brown, Wade has dedicated over 2 decades to empowering leaders and teams to achieve excellence through emotional intelligence, effective communication, and unwavering motivation. Welcome to the show, Wade. I'm super excited you're here.
Yeah, well, thank you, Sam. First, let me say I appreciate you doing this. I think there's more people that we need that have your type of passion, that need your type of voice and energy. So thank you.
Oh, man, the pleasure is all mine. Wade, man, you have such a powerful story, especially timely at this time. So, Wade, can you share the pivotal moment when you realized that you were experiencing burnout, and how did that shape your path forward?
Let me go a little bit deeper than that. Let me tell you, this Wade Randolph that you're speaking with, I didn't know exist. This Wade Randolph that you're talking with, I knew it was there. We all know that there's something greater inside of us. And I needed somebody to help me bring out, but I didn't know how to do that. The reality, years ago, Sam, I used to work a job that they used to pay me enough to stay there, and I used to just work enough to be there. You know, it was a dead-end job. It wasn't really doing anything with my life. And I think the question comes back to me, what are you doing with your life? What is it that makes it worth you getting up in the morning? What is it that makes the real you? And realistically, I used to work at, if you've ever ate a Girl Scout cookie, I used to work in the Girl Scout factory. And one day headed home, I saw a police truck go past me. A police car go past me. And I'm like, man, what is that doing? This is a nice neighborhood. Then I saw people running. And the guy said, man, you better come on and let's see what's going on. And I never thought, I took 5-10 more steps. And I stood there and I watched my house go up in flames. Everything I owned, everything that I had worked for, everything that I sweated for, I just stood there like I was in a daze. And, you know, when they say you can hit rock bottom, I went through the bottom. I want you to imagine for a moment, especially on this Easter that we are here, you have nothing. You even thinking about where do I get my next meal from? And you know, all I have is the clothes on my back. And at that time, there's an interesting thing about adversity. Adversity introduces a man or woman to himself. And you have to ask, if you have nothing, who are you? What do you really have? What is it that when everything's gone, when everybody's gone, who are you really? And I never forget, a fire marshal told me, he says, Mr. I don't know you from anybody. I'm sorry, we can't save anything. He says, you don't have anything that we can salvage. He said, but let me give you a piece of advice. There's one piece of advice. Sometimes, Sam, we need to listen to the words, not what we want to hear, but what we need to hear. And he said, I can tell you, if you rebuild, you'll be lucky. But if you keep living this type of life, it'll be another fire. And next time you won't be so lucky. And I had to ask myself that day, what type of life do I really want to have? What type of life do I really want to lead? What type of life do I want to make for myself? That day I made a decision to walk away from that lifestyle and walk into a lifestyle that I would be proud of, that would bring me passion, but also bring me a joy that I would look forward to the day instead of being fearful of the day. You talk about burnout, man, past burnout. Sometimes you got to sit there in that quiet space, in that quiet moment and ask, who am I really in order to make a difference for myself and the generations that will follow behind me? That's where I am.
Wade,
that's what brought me to this Wade Randolph that I didn't know this guy existed, but I made a decision. And here's the thing I will start off with. Make a decision where you want to go. Yeah, you can't see it all the time. You can't see the next step, but I guarantee you, man, if you just take the next step. You see, Les used to tell me all the time, most people suffer from possibility blindness. They can't see what's possible for them because they live a small life, and all they have to do is stop telling themselves that story. I can't do it. I can't see it. I don't have what it takes. And start telling a new story that maybe life can offer me something if I'm willing, Sam, just to take the next step. That's right.
That's powerful.
Wade Randolph is what you see. That's just because I kept stepping. I kept taking the next step to see, what do I have in my next party? What do I have that's my new idea? What do I have that can bring the best of me out? When you start working, I met a young lady some years ago, and she said, I've had a hard day. And I said, yeah, you look like you've had. And she said, but you know what? I demand that my day go good. What are you demanding of yourself so that the Monday that comes, you won't run from, but you run to it because you're demanding that your day go good, that you're demanding that you get all that nonsense, all those people that telling you what you can't do, and you get that negative thinking out and say, I can do better than this. I can think better. I can get better people. I can look at things that will feed my mind to take me to another level. What are you demanding of you that you can demand that your day go good? Les used to always say, I'm going to lose my mind up in here. Man, sometimes you got to be willing to lose it in order to grab something new, to grab the real you that you're just gotten a glimpse of. But in the back, you can pull it forward, and that's the new you that people are waiting on. What's new? What is it that people are waiting on that you're just sitting on, but for some reason, that thing called fear, that you're fearful of bringing it out, and you bring it out, that people say, wow, I didn't know that was you. And you were saying, it's been here all along. I just needed to bring it out. That's where we are, man. That's the time that we are, that most people are. I don't like to talk about problems. When I used to manage, Sam, and this is what I tell the people that I coach, I said, this is not the problem department. This is a solution department. So give me one moment of your problem, and let's take 10 minutes and talk about the solution. How can we think differently? How can we look at it from a different perspective? Everybody has a perspective, but most people have a negative perspective. And in that negative, there's a positive. And we need to look at new perspectives to come up with new ideas, new conversations, new insights that will take us to another level. I have to share with you, and I don't, hopefully you don't mind. When you and I, before we started this interview, you were saying, I want to do certain things. I'm ready to start speaking and all. And see, I think, Sam, you and I have been telling ourselves a story. And sometimes we got to put that old story away and burn it and start to allow our new story to resonate. So I think just by us having this conversation, we're already your speaker, man. You're already giving the message. But see, we become small when you think about just us. But we become big when you think about, what can I do for the people around me? What message do they need? What is it that I have that I can give to others? As Nelson Mandela said, there's no limits. There's only limited thinking. What message do the people need so that we can make something new? So how are we doing, man? Or am I answering the questions that you had on your mind?
Yeah. Oh, yes, man. So many, so powerful, Wade. I mean, just you answered a lot of great questions. I think many times we find ourselves in those hard times, like you said, that hard season where I didn't know where to take that next step. That was so powerful. Like you said, it's just realizing that each time I take that step, each time I keep showing up, the vision gets clearer. And, we were in that time. What was that initial step that you took to transition from that adversity to becoming that motivational force where you are for others?
I asked myself one pivotal question. I think everyone needs somebody that they can be coached by. Yeah, I had Les Brown as my coach, but Les only could take me to a certain point, and I started to have to look for other people. And I asked Les, I said, let me ask you, what's the next thing that I need to do? And he says, Wade, look for the people that will bring out the best in you. Start talking to the people that they can see something in you that you can't see in yourself. Sometimes you got to get around the people that, instead of saying what you can't do, those people that say, come on, push it just a little bit harder, reach just a little bit more. Come on, you can do it. And when I was tired, I used to ask his daughter, Ona Brown, I used to say, why is Mr. Brown so hard on me? Say, I'm giving it my best. I'm just trying to bring out a message. Why is he so hard on me? And she said, because he sees something more in you. He sees that he has to reach deeper and pull it out. Sam, sometimes we need people around us that can see our greatness when we can't see it. Sometimes we have to have people that will pull it out of us when we are saying, wow, I'm already reaching, and they are saying, reach higher, reach more, reach to another level, just to pull your greatness out of you. See, I tend to tell my audience there are three types of people in this world: people that make things happen, people that watch things happen, and people that will wonder what happened. What type of person will you be? Will you be the person that will make things happen, or will you be the person that will say, I used to? That things used to look good, that things I couldn't get there. I don't want to live like that. When the end comes, I want it to help me find a new horizon instead of sliding down the old mountain. I want to live so that I can look back and say, man, I burnt every bit of this thing called life up. And I want to look back. And I think the greatest gift that we can give is that we look back at the people that we touched along our journey. So, the question becomes simple. Let's not make it difficult. Let's not, let's speak from our head and our heart. Who will you touch so that when they look back at your life, they said, that guy did something different. That guy helped me find the real me. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, it sure does, man. That's so powerful. Way, like you were saying right there, like we have to surround ourselves with people that see the best for us. And I think many times we, like you said, he was a little hard on you. Many times we find ourselves thinking that those people don't want the best for us. But I love something you said, that greatness sometimes has to be pulled outside of you. Like we are telling ourselves these stories that we're not good enough, that we're afraid, that I can never be this good. But you said, like, sometimes greatness demands a force to be pulled outside of you. Now, when you were in it, what really helped you? Is there a strategy, or how did you find people that can pull the best out of you?
Man, I am still, James Brown used to say, they used to say, Mr. Brown, have you given the best show that you gave, when he used to be the godfather of soul, and they used to see him, Maceo, blow your horn. Maybe I'm being a little bit too old school. I apologize. And they used to say, did you give your best performance? He said, only for that night. My best performance is ahead of me, not in back of me. So he started to study some of the greats that came beyond him. Sometimes you got to turn off the television and turn on your mind. What is it that you're reading that will elevate your thinking to another level? I'm reading a good book now, Michael Neal, Inside Out, or The Ultimate Coach by Amy Hardison. Man, what is it that you can put in your mind that will grow that garden of mental thought? What is it that you're reaching for? And then talk with people. Don't just walk by people. Talk to people. I used to run a radio show, and I talked with a gentleman who was an activist in Washington, D.C., Omi Congo. And they were saying he was such an activist that he would always rub people the wrong way. And I would say, and Omi Congo was a young man, but he was very active on telling people, let's move forward. And I said, Omi, what is it that keeps you active? And he says, you don't want to know. I'm like, what do you mean I don't want to know? He says, because realistically, if I told you the secret, then realistically, the question is, will you use that? I said, well, tell me the secret. He said, the secret is find something to give your life to. Find something that you're passionate about. Find something that you will reach further than just you. I had the pleasure years ago to meet Cicely Tyson. And Mrs. Tyson, when she walked in the room, if you ever saw Mrs. Tyson, and I'm talking about the Cicely Tyson that she was in Sounder, she was in the movies, Medea movies and all. And I said, Mrs. Tyson, what is it that makes a difference? And she said, baby, hold on. She said, that's a deep question. Hold on. I want you to get this. And after 30 minutes, I said, Mrs. Tyson, have you forgotten me? She said, no, baby. See, everybody else just wants my autograph. I wanted to make sure this was a question that you wanted and if you would stay to get the answer. And I said, yeah. She said, baby, here's the answer. She said, who is it that you be? Who is it that died for you so you can be here talking to me today? Who is it that you will be willing to give your life for to make a difference in them, in their life? Who is it that you be, baby? Not at the surface level. See, sometimes you got to reach deep inside of yourself and pull out the real you to give the real message, to be the real presence. Who is it that you be, baby? And who is it that you want to give your life to? See, Sam, sometimes you got to ask yourself the real question. Who is it that you really be so that you're willing to die for them, that you're willing to cry for them in that midnight hour, that you're willing not to allow them to sit on their comfort level, but to make them uncomfortable, to bring out the greatness inside of them? Who is it that you be? When you can answer that question, then you're starting to climb those steps. See, I think we always look for a mountain with a peak. I say that there's a mountain with no peak out there, but you're willing to climb it anyway. That's where we are.
That's powerful, Wade. That is, yes. So powerful. And I love that how you were talking about having, I love that you're talking about having a cause that's bigger than you and how that propels you to that next level. I think many times, like you said, we're trying to grow in different areas in life, but it's all about me and really not about the we, not about that bigger message to really make that lasting impact. That's something greater than you that really allows you to let your goals pull you to that.
Yes. My wife, we were traveling one weekend through my old neighborhood. I'm a project kid. 2112 Red Street, shoot 'em up, alley, bucket of blood, you name it. And I cut through the neighborhood because that's no longer who I am. And I saw a guy stumbling out of the liquor store and I knew him. And my wife saw and I said, wow, life hasn't been good to him. And she said, no, that's not it. He hasn't been good to his life. How good are you being to your life that you love yourself so much that you will push yourself to the next level to bring out the best in you? Because when you bring out the best in you, you can't do anything but pull the people around you up. And those people that don't want to go up, those weren't the crowd for you anyway. I think we need to look at this. It's not about what's around us. It's about what's inside of us and how we bring it out in these times that's called challenging. See, challenging times will always be here. But a diamond has to go through pressure in order to become one of the best diamonds. We're in that pressure time, and will it just squish you or will it bring the best out of you?
Man, that's so powerful. Realizing that pressure has that purpose to really get you to that next level. I think, Wade, many of us are times where you try to avoid the pressure, right? But not. I love how you said that pressure is where diamonds are built. So realize that pressure that you put on yourself is what actually is going to propel you to that next level. That's so powerful, because many people may be listening to this trying to avoid that very thing. Like you said, like we have those dreams, we have those aspirations, but we're avoiding pressure. Like you said, pressure, growth starts. Man, that's powerful.
I think the real power is when we come together as a collective and say, what is it that we can do to move past this challenges? Challenges introduces a man or woman to themselves. How can we come together to look at things in a different perspective and say, this is not something that will keep us down. This is something that will move us forth. And what is the opportunity in this challenge? Don't run from it. You have to be like a fireman or a firewoman. Don't run to it and run through it. Man, I like that myself. Run to it and run through it so that you will find a new perspective on it. So what else you got?
That's powerful. Yes. I love that. What initial steps? I know you talked about, we're pushing past the pressure, but what initial steps would you tell somebody to take when they're with that transition? How to get to that next? Maybe they're finding they're afraid to step into that pressure. When it comes to having that adversity, what steps would you recommend, to becoming that next level?
Yeah, so let me give you some real concrete steps. I had a young lady that I coached, and realistically, she said, I want to open a business. And I said, well, what is it that stops you? And she said, well, money stops me. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, it's plenty of money around. And she said, well, I said, who have you asked to invest? She said, nobody. I said, well, when are you going to start asking? She said, well, maybe tomorrow. I said, what else stops you? She said, I don't have the skill. I said, well, you can go on the internet and start studying. Let me give you a few things I told. Number one, start asking. As a man or woman thinketh, so is he or she. We got to change that thinking. And sometimes it only takes a moment to pick up the phone or to send a text and say, can you help me? Let me say that again. Most people don't want to ask for help. Ask for help, not because you're weak, because you want to be strong. Man, I picked up the phone several times, and I've called people I didn't know. And I just asked, can you give me 5-10 minutes of your time just to give me your perspective, your insight? Number two, start studying. Become a student that you'll read so much material and you start reading. See, there's one thing that leaders are readers. Cut off that television. Open your mind to new possibilities. Number three, become a student, man. I tell people I'm coachable. I want to learn something. Become coachable. Open your mind and shut your mind, because if we knew everything, then none of us will be there. But knowledge is the new currency. Open your mind, turn the internet on, not looking for entertainment. We become too entertainment driven. Become knowledge driven. Look for new nuggets, new insights, new perspectives that will raise your level of thinking to another level. That's three, my man.
Man, that's beautiful. I love those actionable steps. I love something so powerful. That first one is it really asking for help. I think many times with our thinking about asking for help as a sign of weakness. But I love how you said asking help so that I show up strong. I think that's such a realizing that asking for help is going to allow you to show up better, more wiser, and like you said, more powerful to that situation. But maybe you find many times I know I find myself not wanting to ask that question out of fear or maybe rejection or just maybe fear of not looking knowledgeable, but realizing that asking for help is a sign of strength. That's awesome.
The sad reality, we all were put here for assignment. Iron sharpens iron. And the reality is that someone is waiting for you. But if we don't reach our hand out, we'll never let them fill their assignment, and we will never fulfill our assignment. It's just that simple, but we make it so difficult. I like the KISS method.
Yes.
I like the KISS method. I'll let your audience finish it, but keep it the KISS method. Go ahead. I cut you off.
Yes. I love that. No, you're good. I'm sorry. Had a little bit of delay there. No, but yeah, you're good, man. I love that. So, Wade, you talked about some of the daily practices. I love how you talked about, asking for help. But what are some daily practices do you take? I know you said you're always a learner. You're always a student. Are there any personal practices that you just implied to yourself that you realize that have helped you to stay motivated through the process?
Yeah. So let me give you some real concrete things that I do. Number one, before you go to bed, start looking at what did you do to bring out the best in you. The one thing, I was on a call, and some years ago, the young lady said, I'm not doing enough. And I said, can I ask you a question? She said, yeah. I said, how much do you love yourself? Fall back in love with you. Start noting what's good about you. Yeah, this bald head guy that's called Wade Randolph. I love me. See, because when you start to say, yeah, I love and I take care of me, and I start to build myself up, then it's not from the outside that hurts me. I build myself up from the inside. So I live from inside out instead of outside in. Number two, plan your day. What is it that you want to accomplish the next day that will make you feel good? Sometimes during the day, Sam, in my busy, crazy days, when I'm talking with people, I take a moment and I say, who can I call? Who can I reach out to just to uplift their day? It's not always about me. It's about who can I call to at least help them through their day. Here's a fourth thing, and the most powerful thing. Make sure you take time for you. So every day I take at least 5 to 10 minutes and I meditate. I go into that quiet space so I can reconnect with me. So I can quiet this mind down and reconnect with it so I can think new thoughts. I'm working on the inside out instead of the outside in, where there's a lot of negativity. I don't need that negativity as long as I know who I am, who I love, myself, and the most important thing, that I'm taking care of me.
Man, it's so powerful, Wade. Really love everything you said there, because I love how you said it's that inside out approach. And what's so powerful about that, I think many people, when they're looking for motivation, they're looking outside of themselves, right? They're thinking, motivated, I'm going to have this, that, and this. But I love how your motivation starts with you. Setting that time for yourself and setting that intention with yourself. I think it's so many times when we're looking to stay motivated, we give our power away to objects or things outside of us. But I love how you said it. Real motivation starts from the inside, and then it shows up. So powerful, Wade. I love that.
Yes, it's very important. Let's stop looking from the outside. Yeah, the big car will come, the cash will come, the fame and all will come, but it only comes to the person that knows who they are on the inside. Shakespeare said, to thyself be true. How true are you to yourself, so that when those challenging times, those good times comes, you show up 100% of who you are? Let's learn to live from the inside out instead of the outside in.
Ooh, man, that is just so powerful, Wade, man. I love that. I love that. So, Wade, you work with a lot of leaders. Can you discuss the importance of that emotional intelligence in leaderships and that team dynamic?
Sure. I think we have to look at the definition of what we use as leadership. The best leadership, there's a lot of definitions floating around about leadership. I'm a leader because I have this title. I'm a leader because I lead this group. And I tend to ask, some years ago, I did some work for a hospital, and I walked in, and I say this with all respect, if you've ever met doctors, they are kind of, why are you here? You don't have a doctor's title. And realistically, I said, gentlemen, what is leadership? Same question you're asking. And I say, here's the definition. The best definition I've ever met. The best definition I've ever heard. If I can help you to do more, to achieve more, to dream more, and become more, then you are a leader. John Quincy Adams. Here's a question we have to ask. Who are you helping to become more? Who are you helping to achieve more? Who are you helping to dream more, to see the best in themselves instead of the less of themselves? Who are you helping to bring out the best in the people that are around you? If you're doing that, then you're a leader. It's not about title. It's about bringing out, as Les used to say, the greatness in the people around you and in yourself. Either you can be a light bulb or you can be a lightning rod. What are you being? And what are you doing as a leader to light up the people around you? Let me answer your question about teamwork. See, I might be bulb. I'm not a little slow. Let me go back to your question. What is teamwork? You see, right now, and more than ever before, we have people that come together, and most managers that I've met don't recognize the uniqueness in each person. They will put them in a slot and say, this is what I want you to do. But those people don't come together as a team because we haven't, as managers, as CEOs, we haven't allowed those people to express their uniqueness. So teamwork, in my opinion, is bringing a unique group of people together, allowing them to use their talents, their wisdoms, and insight to achieve an outcome that's beneficial for the whole. How are you recognizing the person that's on your team, and what is the ability that they have that's unique to the team? What is the mindset that they have that they can bring some value to the team, and how do you allow them to express their value? How do you communicate to them so that they know that the one goal that we're after is this goal, and you want them to work with a group of people using all talents and abilities to achieve that goal? When we look at people as unique, when we look at people as being gifted, when we look at people as being able to bring their own talent and creativity to the problem, instead of stay focusing on the problem, we focus on the solution. We've got a great team.
Man, I love that, Wade. Man, that's so powerful. And it's so true when you really start valuing the people that you're working with. And like, I love how you talked about really just having that vision for your team, and then really valuing each person, seeing the gifts that each person brings to the table, and acknowledging it. So what strategies do you recommend to foster that cohesiveness and that high performance when it comes to a team?
It's very interesting. Sometimes you have to strip away the titles. No, we don't need a person to come in as manager. We don't need a person to come in as a CEO. We need the person to come in as a human being. And we need to communicate and say, let's collaboratively look at different ideas, different possibilities, different perspectives in order to move us to another level. Steve Jobs used to have, in order for Apple to be so successful, he used to have meetings, and he would say, gentlemen, in this meeting, we might argue, we might disagree, but the ultimate goal is to come up with new ideas that will stimulate our growth. How many people have an iPhone? How many people have an iPad? Only because he allowed the group to stimulate new ideas, to come up with new concepts in order to create something new. See, I think when we bring our mindsets together and push the envelope, then we come up with new ideas and new possibilities. As I said earlier, most people suffer from possibility blindness. Let's get past that.
Mm.
Let's start communicating and look at new ideas, new concepts, new possibilities in order to move us to a greater level.
Yes, I love that. I really love that. I love how you talked about not having the titles and that cohesiveness and allowing people to come in as human beings. And like you said, just that explanation with, Steve Jobs, allowing people to come together and collectively work together. I think, many times we go into a job and we like, hey, since I'm at this title, I don't have a say. But I love how you talked about when you really get that cohesiveness is removing those titles and allowing people to be people, but also allowing them to bring their best. That's awesome.
Yes. If we value each other, Sam, if we start to value each other's creativity, there's no problem we can't solve.
Man, that's awesome. I love that. I love that. So how can leaders inspire and maintain that motivation? Bring those challenges, you're as a team, you're good and the bad together. How do they maintain that that motivation?
So, Sam, we maintain it by each day pushing forward, each day pushing the envelope, each day allowing each person to express their uniqueness. Most companies I go to, you can cut the tension with a knife. And I tend to say, well, what's going on? The manager will say, well, go talk to the employees. I said, okay, I'll go talk to the employees. They say, go talk to the manager. And one thing that we stopped communicating. We stopped giving people the platform just to express who they really are. We stopped giving people the platform just to give their ideas. We stopped giving the people the platform to say, what if? The most powerful question we have is, what if? What if we did it differently? What if we asked our clients what they want and try to serve them? See, we've got to go back to serving each other. They say service is the rent that you pay for your time here on earth. How can we serve each other and push the envelope to meet your needs so that we grow the company, grow the person, and grow beyond our small little vision?
Man, whoo, that is beautiful. So powerful, Wade, man. That is a powerful statement in itself, man. Man. So I just want to ask you guys right here, as a leader, why is effective communication critical, for leaders and entrepreneurs that are possibly listening to this?
It was interesting. One of the people that I love to read about is Nelson Mandela. And he used to say that when Mr. Mandela used to bring his cabinet together, he would have about 40, 50 people in the cabinet. And they would say, well, Mr. Mandela, what do you think? And he would say, no, that is not a question I need to answer. Gentlemen, please state your perspective, your thoughts, your ideas. Why? Because he will allow the communication in the room with different ideas, different thoughts, different concepts before he would formulate his opinion. See, we have to go back and communicate with each other and look at different perspectives, different opinions, different ideas, because one person never has an answer. But if you bring a mass of people together and work upon one problem, that mass of people will come with solutions that will even decimate your issue. How do we communicate? We've got to be willing to open our minds and listen to other perspectives, because the richness is in mining the minds of others. If we communicate effectively, if we communicate with intelligence, if we communicate respectfully, as I've said earlier, there's no problem we can't solve. But here's the thing that we allow to minimize us and take us to a low level, thinking that one person always has the answer. That's foolish, and that's fear. We've got to be willing to communicate and look outside our box and not always within our box. The question that we have to ask our audience is, are you looking outside your box? That's where we are, Sam. That's what makes the difference.
Yes. Yes, man, Wade, that is such a powerful statement in itself. Because I love how you said, many times the biggest mistake is we're looking for the one answer. And I think that you see that in society. We're all looking for that one answer. But I love how you said it's really taking that collective mind, and then that's going to give us our greatest. So not only our greatest answer is that collective answer, those different perspectives, realizing that there isn't just a one answer to all the questions. It's really bringing them all together to get that strong. Man, Wade, your knowledge is so expansive and so powerful. And I know people that are listening to this episode are wondering, how can I stay in connection with Wade?
Man, I am always doing something. Feel free to reach out to me. So let me give you some background. I am doing some conferences. I'm going back on the net because I'm finished with working on specific projects. So there are some projects that I'm working on that I'm going to open it up on the net. So my email, or better yet, let me give you my website, randolphunlimited.com, RANDOLPH, unlimited.com. Feel free to go there, and I'll be announcing some programs that will be online. Feel free to send me an email. When I'm not busy and running around, I'll respond back to you. It's Wade, W-A-D-E, at themoreguy.com. Wade, W-A-D-E, at THEMOREGUY.com. Hit me up on either one of those. I'm on Facebook, Wade Randolph 1. Send me a message, and I'll be glad to reach out to you and help you if I can.
Man, that's awesome, Wade. So, hey, you guys, I'm going to make it super simple to stay connected with Wade. I'm actually going to put all of his links under this episode so you can follow him on his website. You can get connect with him and just stay connected. Awesome books out there. He has Through the Storms, Leadership, 9/11. So, hey, there's so many opportunities to not only stay in connected with Wade, but to have him go through the process with you. It's kind of like Wade said, growth doesn't have to be a one size. You don't have to do it alone. But it's really that real growth happens when we collectively come together and have someone to guide you through the process. So Wade, if you had to leave the listeners with an inspirational, what would you like to leave them with?
Well, so first, let me appreciate you. I appreciate you for hosting this show, for giving me the time to use my voice and talents to help the listeners. Hopefully it's been of value. So let me just leave with my slogan, as I always do. And I mentioned it earlier, but it's worth repeating again. They call me the more guy only because I know that there's more that we have inside of us that we can bring out. The question you have is, are you expressing the best in you, or are you expressing the less in you? This evening, when you are no longer on the show and you've calmed down, I want you to take a sheet of paper and number it across 1 to 10. I want you to ask yourself one question. If I rated myself, as I said, Shakespeare said, to thyself be true, what would you rate yourself? If you say I'm a 7 or an 8, then ask yourself, what do you need to do to go to a 10? What are the 3-4 things you need to do to take your life to a 10? And as I always say, the only thing that stops you is possibility blindness. It's possible if you're willing to reach for it, if you're willing to grow for it, if you're willing to ask for help, not because you're weak, because you want to get strong. And as I leave my audience with a simple slogan that Mr. Brown helped me create years ago. There are 3 types of people in this world: people that make things happen, people that watch things happen, and people that will wonder what happened. Who will you be? Make things happen. Sam, thank you, and thank the audience for their time.
So much, Wade, man. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for your knowledge, your presence, and just sharing your gift with us today. Like I said, guys, all of his links are going to be down in this episode. So make sure you screenshot this, DM Wade. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, sharing your gift. You don't have to do this alone. Wade is there to guide you along the process. So don't let this be the last time you hear from Wade. And like he said, it's time for more. Take care.